Mr.
don't
Chairman.
talk to me. Don't insult me publicly.
This is so discourteous. This is so outside the committee's guidelines. Taking a personal shot at me while swiping at Biden, very strange and very unprofessional of you.
All of you are also modeling what it means to be an attorney general, because we've got an attorney general of the United States who literally thinks her job is to be the president's lawyer and to do whatever the president wants her to do.
What you just saw wasn't just a heated exchange. It was a crack in the system, laid bare for everyone to see. The stakes in that room couldn't be higher, because this isn't just about Pam Bondi. It's about power, accountability, and a government that seems more interested in protecting itself than the people it serves. But what if that clash was only the surface? What if something far darker is hiding behind it? Secrets, deals, and truths they'll do anything to keep buried.
Thanks, Senator Schumer. We're going to start with questions with Congressman Raskin.
Thank you very much, Senator Durbin and Senator Schumer. Thanks for joining us and for your powerful leadership on behalf of the rule of law and the Constitution in New York and all over the country. Your citation of Senator Warnock reminds me of something that Ben Franklin said, where he said, I've observed that wrong is always growing more wrong until there's no bearing it anymore, but that right, however opposed, comes right at last. And so
Warnock paraphrased Benjamin Franklin.
Well, they were thinking along parallel lines, undoubtedly.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you for joining us. I want to recognize my Democratic colleagues who've joined us today. Hank Johnson from Georgia, Ted Lieu from California, Deborah Ross from North Carolina, Chuy Garcia from Illinois, Mary Gay Scanlon from Pennsylvania, and Becca Ballin from Vermont. But I just have a couple of questions for you guys. One is I want to say that when, pursuant to Senator Warnock and Ben Franklin, we get through this nightmare, and we will, and when we reclaim the trajectory of American history for democracy and freedom, and we will, all of you will be remembered by future generations for what you did to stand up for us during this time. And I don't want you to think that anybody doesn't notice, because we do notice what it is you're doing. But I want to ask you this, because in addition to the substantive defense of the rule of law and the Constitution you're engaged in, all of you are also modeling what it means to be an attorney general, because we've got an attorney general of the United States who literally thinks her job is to be the president's lawyer and to do whatever the president wants her to do, and thinks that the Department of Justice is the law firm for the president and his political party. I mean, that's a remarkable deformation and diversion of American history. So although it's indisputable that all of you are Democrats, I don't think you're here to represent the Democrats or the Democratic Party of your state. And I just wonder if you would say a word about what it means to you to be an attorney general and to try to act on behalf of the rule of law and not a political program. Perhaps Attorney General Rowell, if you'd start.
Thank you for that question. I serve as the Attorney General of the state of Illinois, and in Illinois, I am independently elected from the governor, and by way of that, I serve the rule of law. I don't serve the governor. I do represent the governor. I represent the agencies within state, but I serve the rule of law, and I take that distinction very seriously, and I think that the U.S. Attorney General should operate with the same sort of, she shouldn't be loyal to the president, but she should be loyal to the rule of law. That does not mean you're not representing the government and the administration, but you have to do so within the bounds of the rule of law, and we take that very seriously.
Is there any one of you who would describe your job as being the governor's lawyer? Exclusively, and anyway, okay. So I don't know if anybody wanted to add anything else on this. Yes, Attorney General Campbell.
I'll just add, similar in Massachusetts, elected by the people, and I'm accountable to the people in upholding the rule of law and protecting their rights and protecting our state's economy. I would just stress, and I think the NIH case, which we were all a part of, whether it's the first case or even the second iteration of that case, to protect access to these critical life-saving medical research, clinical trials. This is billions of dollars that go to every state in the country. We came together not looking at, okay, how do we just protect those who are Democrats or identify as Democrats in this country? We came together recognizing the unlawful actions by this administration to cut that funding in NIH1 quickly on a Friday night and mobilized to show up in court on Monday because we knew what was at stake. When you talk about a child having pediatric cancer or a vet dealing with PTSD, we don't look at whether or not they have a D or an R by their names. We mobilize to advance that litigation to protect the public health, not even only of those folks in our state, but to protect the public health of everyone across this country while at the same time upholding the rule of law. And I think it's just a great example of a great example of how we do our work regardless of political affiliation or even demographic.
Well, thank you for doing that. And Ellison and Plotkin, let me just twist the question a little bit. One of the things you guys are doing is defending the integrity of federal laws and programs that we've adopted. And because of the very restrictive standing rules that the court has imposed against Congress going to court to try to get our laws implemented, in a weird way, you're standing up for the laws that we've participated in passing. But that's for all of the people, because after all, it's your representatives in Congress who voted for them as well. But I wonder if you could just reflect a little bit on that role you're playing in terms of making federal law work for everybody in the country as a state attorney general.
Chairman Raskin, we regard the laws that Congress passes as fundamentally the prerogative of the people who populate this country and send members to Congress. And so for an executive to usurp the role of Congress in appropriations or establishment of agencies or anything like that, we view as an outrageous overreach that simply cannot be tolerated. As I noted in my comments, the things that the president is trying to do, you probably can do if you follow the rules, but you cannot do it vis-a-vis executive order or edict or proclamation or this is how I feel this morning. The fact is that there are procedures that they can follow. They got to go to Congress. You want to abolish the Department of Education, as horrible of an idea as I believe that is, you have to go through Congress to do that. So he's not only doing things that I think are harmful to the American people, he's doing them in a way that is harmful to our system of justice and democracy.
Great. And then finally, forgive me.
I was just going to note, Representative Raskin, that what you said at the start of this is the core of many of the lawsuits we filed. Article 1 gives this body the broadest powers, particularly when it comes to passing laws, spending money. And a bulk of the cases we have talked about and have brought have been the president. When we say he can't act like a king, it means he can't take actions that you have done and put into law, signed into law by a president, passed by a Congress, and decide on a whim that he wants to, say, convert a Department of Transportation highway program into an immigration enforcement program. That is not what the Constitution allows. And so our lawsuits have been about standing up in many ways for the authority of this body to do the important work that it does.
Pam Bondi just lost it in Congress after a brutal live exchange that left her scrambling for answers and exposed far more than anyone expected. What started as a routine hearing spiraled into a full-blown political demolition, and for Bondi, there was no escaping the spotlight. What if this hearing is only the beginning? What if it's just the opening move in a far bigger cover-up, one they'll stop at nothing to protect? That's why every word, every pause, and every glance in that room carried so much weight. Bondi walked in confident, ready with rehearsed talking points, but her composure didn't last. Congressman Jamie Raskin went straight for the jugular, setting the tone early. He praised his colleagues for defending the rule of law before dropping a pointed reminder. The Justice Department isn't supposed to be a shield for the president's personal battles. But under Trump, and with Bondi by his side, critics argue that's exactly what it became. Then came the turning point. Raskin tied Bondi directly to the Epstein files, the ones Trump once promised to make public but quietly buried. On live television, he pressed her. Why are these documents still sealed from the American people? This should have been the easiest yes of her career, a chance to stand for transparency. Instead, Bondi hesitated. That pause, caught by every camera in the room, detonated like a bomb. And then it got worse. From there, the narrative shifted. This wasn't just about Epstein anymore. It was about powerful networks, sealed secrets, and a justice system bending under political weight. Ghislaine Maxwell's sudden transfer to a low-security Texas facility only deepened the suspicion. No fences, no strict oversight, a place where sex offenders don't usually end up. Days before her transfer, Maxwell met privately with a former defense attorney tied to a top DOJ official. 48 hours later, her prison conditions changed completely. Coincidence? Or something more calculated? Lawmakers are demanding records. Families of Epstein's victims are calling it betrayal. Advocacy groups are mobilizing. And through it all, Pam Bondi's name keeps resurfacing. Critics accuse her of doing everything possible to keep the Epstein files locked away, not to protect justice, but to shield a network of elites whose reputations and careers could shatter if the truth came out. The fallout is only growing. Social media is on fire. Hashtags are trending. Polls show more than 70% of Americans believe the public is being kept in the dark, and nearly 60% are furious about how this case has been handled. Even some of Trump's loyal supporters are starting to question why these files remain hidden. Because this isn't just about Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, or Epstein. It's about who gets protected and who gets erased. It's about a system that claims to defend the rule of law but bends when the stakes are too high. Bondi had the chance to rise above politics, to deliver clarity when the country demanded answers. Instead, her hesitation became the headline, and now that story is spiraling out of control.